Hi everybody. Today I've decided to wash my quilts, or at least a couple of them that need to be washed. So I thought I would do a quick video because I'm a quilter. I've been a quilter for over 30 years. It's a long time. You know, when I first started quilting, I was doing everything by hand and I was treating the quilts like, you know, they're made of angel wings. And I understand that because I went through that, like you know, made the quilt, you don't want to ruin it by throwing it in the washing machine and have it bleed all over itself and the whole thing. But most quilts these days are not meant to be treated like that. You can just put them in the washing machine. But I do want to show you some quilts that should not be washed, because there are some that shouldn't be washed just because of their age or they're delicate or what they're made of or whatever. I wrote an article on the Artisan Shopper website, and I will put the link in the description of this video, and you can go read about quilts in general. But this is an example of a quilt that you should never wash in the washing machine. This is a vintage crazy quilt. It has hand embroidery on it. The fabrics are very fragile. There's several fabrics, so like this one is completely shredded. And I put this on top of my piano. I don't use it for human use. It's just kind of decorative at this point because it really is falling apart. If I put this in the washing machine, it would be dead. It would be gone. It would just disintegrate. So based on the age of the quilt and the type of fabrics, like this is either satin or some kind of polyester, I don't know, but I'm not sure how old it is, but this is velvet. You don't want to put this kind of thing in the washing machine. If you do need to wash it, you might want to have it professionally cleaned or dry clean it. I would take it maybe to a professional cleaner just because of the different types of fabrics that are on it and the condition is so bad. So just be aware that if something is very fragile, you don't want to wash it in the washing machine. But for most quilts, you can, and I'm going to go up to the laundry room and we'll do that right now. Now I do want to say, before you start, you should kind of take a look at the quilt to make sure that there aren't any pieces that are really fragile. And like I said, I've quilted for a long time, so when I see a tear or something that needs to be fixed, I just think, oh, I need to fix that. And I'll get around to it eventually, so I'm not too afraid of it. But this is an example. You see right here on the binding of this quilt is completely come apart. If you have something like this and you're afraid to make it worse, get it fixed before you wash the quilt. I'm not afraid to make it worse because I have to fix it anyway, so I'm just going to throw it in. But you do kind of want to look over the quilt and make sure that it's in decent condition, because if you put it into a washing machine that has an agitator, sometimes it can get caught on the pieces of that and it will rip it. And you just want to make sure that there's nothing loose to begin with that's going to get worse if you put it in. So once you take a look over it and you make sure that it's okay, you can just put it into the washing machine, and that's what we're going to do next. Okay, I'm just going to load this in. I've already put the detergent in here, and there's kind of a lot of space left over. This is a large capacity washing machine, so yeah, you could throw a couple of towels in there if you wanted. I'm just going to do the one quilt. I'm not going to worry about that too much. But, you know, once you've got everything set up, close this. And as far as your controls go, you want to use, this has either a delicate or a bulky cycle. Bulky is for sheets and blankets and stuff. I might use that. I'm not, you know, I will. And if you're really worried about it, use the delicate cycle. It's not a big deal. I am going to use cold water. So I'll use cold water in the bulky cycle. This is going to go a little bit longer. This washing machine does not have an agitator, so it's not going to, you know, get caught on anything. So I don't mind if it washes a little bit longer. And the temperature cold, soil level is light. You know, you can decide that for yourself. The spin speed, if you don't want it to spin, you can set it, you know, whatever your machine settings are, just set it to not a super fast spin. And sometimes with a quilt in the washing machine, it can get unbalanced. So you might have to come in and kind of move it around in the washer so that it will redistribute the weight of the quilt and it won't stop spinning. But other than that, that's it. So just choose delicate and cold water. I don't use a special detergent. You might want to use a delicate detergent, or you could use those color catcher sheets if you think the quilt is going to bleed. But in general, most quilts are made with pre-shrunk cotton and they've been washed before, so if that's the case, it's probably not going to bleed too much. You don't need to worry about that. So I'm just going to go ahead and start it, and I'll be back to throw it in the dryer later. Alright, so it's out of the wash. I'm going to put it in the dryer, and I'm just going to put it on this has a setting that will kind of detect how wet things are, and it'll stop when I tell it what kind of dryness I want. And I'm going to put like normal dryness level. Hold on. You throw that in there. Okay. And this will adjust if you know how long it's going to take because you've dried quilts before. That's one thing, but it's better to dry it just a little bit and then come back, and if it's a little damp, finish it off. You don't want to put a quilt on a real high heat because that will start to shrink it more than it should be shrunk. So I'm going to put medium temperature, normal dryness, and the wrinkle shield off because that will make it stop when it stops and it won't keep spinning every now and then. And there we go. This is going to adjust to the right time when it detects that there's enough moisture taken out of the quilt, and when it beeps I will come back and check it out. So when you take the quilt out of the dryer, you want to make sure that it's really dry and it's not kind of damp, because if you leave this damp, what you should do is hang it up over something so that it can finish air drying. You don't want to put a damp quilt back on your bed because then the batting on the inside might not get dry and it remains damp. You don't like, that's not good. Mold, mildew, not good. So just make sure that it's really dry. You don't necessarily have to have it bone dry. Like I said, you can hang it up if you want to hang it over a door or something, but it's better just to dry it in the dryer. Make sure that all the moisture is out of it, and then you can just put it back on your bed. So don't be afraid to wash a quilt and put it in the dryer, because most quilts these days are made with pre-shrunk cotton. It's not going to shrink that much. This did not shrink, any more than it was shrunk to begin with. And as long as you are doing this on a regular basis, just keep it on the gentle cycle. You want to take care of your quilts, and part of that includes cleaning them. So that's it. Just make sure that if you're doing anything that's super fragile, you're not putting them in the washing machine, because that will destroy them. So just watch out, do your research before, test your fabrics, and you'll be fine.